Right now, as you're watching this video, there are laws being written, debated, and passed that could make your favorite handgun illegal, not because it's dangerous, not because it's been used in crimes more than any other firearm, but because it's popular, because it's affordable, because millions of Americans trust it to protect their families. And that's exactly why lawmakers want it gone. If you own a Glock 19, a Beretta 92 FS, a SIG P320, or a Smith Wesson M&P, you need to pay attention. These aren't just random firearms. These are some of the most trusted, most reliable, and most commonly owned pistols in the entire country. And yet, right now, there are people in government offices working on legislation designed to take them out of your hands. Some of these bills have already passed. Others are just one vote away. And the worst part? Most gun owners don't even know it's happening until it's too late. Let me be clear. This isn't about safety. It's not about stopping crime. It's about control. It's about making gun ownership so complicated, so expensive, and so legally dangerous that regular people just give up. And the way they're doing it is clever. They're not coming for your guns directly. They're banning the magazines. They're restricting the features. They're blocking imports. They're creating rules so impossible to follow that manufacturers can't even build new models anymore. It's death by 1,000 cuts. And it's working. Let's talk about magazine capacity. In several states right now, it is illegal to own a standard capacity magazine. That means if your Glock 19 comes with a 15-round magazine from the factory, you can't legally use it in states like California, New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Maryland, Hawaii, and others. They call them high-capacity magazines, but that's just marketing. These are standard magazines. This is how the gun was designed. This is how it's meant to function. But lawmakers decided that 10 rounds is enough, and if you disagree, you're a criminal. Now think about what that means in a real-life situation. Imagine you're at home. It's late at night. You hear glass breaking, you grab your pistol, you have 10 rounds. But what if there are multiple intruders? What if you miss under stress? What if your life depends on that 11th round? Too bad. The law says 10 is plenty. And the people who write these laws, they have armed security, they have no limits. But you get 10. And if you're caught with 11, you could face years in prison, and it gets worse. Because these laws don't just limit what you can buy in the future. In many cases, they make what you already own illegal. You bought your pistol legally, you registered it, you followed every rule. But then the law changes, and overnight, you're a felon. Unless you turn it in, unless you modify it, unless you prove you moved it out of state. And if you can't, you're guilty. That's not justice. That's a trap. Let's talk about specific models. The Glock 19 is the most popular handgun in America. It's used by police officers. It's used by military personnel. It's used by millions of law-abiding citizens for self-defense. And it's on the list. So is the Glock 17, the Beretta 92 FS, which served as the U.S. military's sidearm for decades, the SIG P320, chosen by the Army to replace the Beretta, the Smith Wesson M&P series, the SIG P10C, the FN 509. These aren't scary guns. These aren't weapons of war. These are tools. And they work. That's why people buy them. And that's exactly why lawmakers want them banned. Now, you might be thinking, they can't ban all of these. There are too many of them. People won't stand for it. But here's the trick. They don't ban them all at once. They ban them slowly. They start in one state. California passes a law. Then New York copies it. Then New Jersey. Then Connecticut. And before you know it, half the country has the same restrictions. And once a restriction is in place, it never goes away. It only gets worse. They add more models. They lower the magazine limit. They tighten the definitions. And every year, more guns become illegal. If you've stuck with me this far, do me a favor. Hit that like button. Share this video with someone who owns a handgun or cares about their rights. And subscribe to this channel because we're going to keep breaking down these issues in plain English so you know exactly what's happening before it's too late. Let's talk about import bans. A huge number of handguns sold in the United States are made overseas. Glock is Austrian. Beretta is Italian. SIG Sauer has Swiss roots. CZ is Czech. FN is Belgian. And there are ongoing efforts to restrict or completely block the importation of foreign-made firearms. Some of these efforts are tied to trade policy. Others are tied to so-called safety standards. But the result is the same. If they can't be imported, they can't be sold. And if they can't be sold, you can't buy them. Now, you might say, what about American-made guns? Can't we just buy those? Sure, if you can afford them. But when you cut off competition from overseas, prices go up. And when prices go up, fewer people can afford to protect themselves. And that's the goal. They don't want to take guns away from rich people. They want to take them away from working-class Americans. They want to make self-defense a luxury, and import bans are one way to do it. Then there's the issue of features. Some states have banned pistols based purely on cosmetic or technical features. If your handgun has a threaded barrel, it might be illegal. If it has a certain grip angle, it might be banned. If it's too light or too heavy or too compact, it could be restricted. And the definitions are so vague that even dealers and manufacturers don't always know what's legal. That's intentional. Confusion is a weapon. If people are afraid they might accidentally break the law, they won't buy guns at all. Let's talk about microstamping. This is one of the most dangerous requirements being pushed right now. Microstamping is a technology that's supposed to imprint a unique mark on every cartridge case when a gun is fired. Sounds reasonable, right? Except the technology doesn't work reliably, it's easy to defeat, it's expensive to implement, and it's nearly impossible for manufacturers to meet the legal standard. So what happens? New models can't be sold. Guns that are currently legal get grandfathered in, but nothing new can enter the market. The roster of legal handguns gets smaller every year, and eventually you're left with nothing. California has already done this. They created a roster of handguns that are approved for sale, but because of micro-stamping requirements, almost no new models have been added in over a decade. Meanwhile, older models keep getting removed. The list is shrinking, and one day it will be empty. And when that happens, you won't be able to buy a handgun in California at all, and other states are watching. They're taking notes, and they're preparing to do the same thing. Here's what makes this especially frustrating. Law enforcement is exempt. Police officers can buy whatever they want. They can own standard capacity magazines. They can carry firearms that are banned for civilians. And when they retire, they get to keep them. So the people enforcing these laws don't have to follow them. And the people writing these laws have armed security. They're protected. But you're on your own. And they want to make sure you stay that way. Now, let's talk about transfers and inheritance. In some states, even if you legally own a handgun, you can't sell it to someone else without going through a complicated and expensive process. You can't give it to your son or daughter. You can't leave it to them in your will. And if you do, they might have to turn it in or modify it to comply with new laws. So even though you bought it legally, even though you did everything right, your kids won't be able to keep it. That's not about safety. That's about making sure these firearms disappear over time. You're halfway through this video, and I hope you're starting to see the bigger picture. If this information is valuable to you, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Share this with your family and friends who need to understand what's really going on. And drop a comment below if you've been affected by any of these laws. Let's keep the conversation going. Let's talk about why this matters so much. The Second Amendment isn't just about hunting or sport shooting. It's about the right to defend yourself. It's about the right to protect your home and your family. And if the government can decide which firearms are acceptable and which aren't, then that right doesn't mean anything. Because they'll just keep narrowing the list until there's nothing left. And by the time people realize what's happened, it'll be too late to fight back. And here's the thing. These restrictions are never sold, honestly. They're always wrapped in language about safety and common sense. They say, we're not taking your guns, we're just regulating them. We're not banning handguns, we're just limiting certain features. We're not attacking the Second Amendment, we're just closing loopholes. But it's all code. It's all designed to sound reasonable while doing something extreme. And it works. Because most people don't read the bills. They don't follow the votes. They just hear the talking points and assume everything is fine. Until one day, it's not. The scariest part is how fast this is happening. 10 years ago, most of these restrictions didn't exist. Now they're in multiple states and expanding. There are federal bills being introduced right now that would take state-level restrictions and apply them nationwide. That means even if you live in a free state today, you could wake up tomorrow and find that your handgun is illegal. And once federal law changes, there's no escaping it. You can't move to a different state. You can't vote it away at the local level. It's done. And let's be honest, once these laws pass, they never get repealed. Politicians love to talk about compromise, but there's no compromise here. It's always one direction, more restrictions, smaller magazines, fewer models, tighter rules. And if you dare to push back, you're labeled as extreme. You're called a gun nut. You're accused of not caring about safety. But all you're doing is defending a constitutional right. And that shouldn't be controversial. So what can you do? First, stay informed. Know what's happening in your state and at the federal level. Follow the bills, read the language, and don't rely on headlines. Second, get involved. Contact your representatives. Show up to hearings. Vote. Make your voice heard. Third, support organizations that fight for gun rights. There are groups working every day to challenge these laws in court and at the ballot box. They need your help. And fourth, talk to people. Share videos like this. Explain what's really happening. Because most people have no idea, and if they did, they'd be outraged. Here's the bottom line. If the government can ban or restrict the most popular, most reliable, and most commonly owned handguns in America, then the Second Amendment is meaningless. It doesn't matter what the Constitution says. If you can't actually exercise the right it's supposed to protect. And that's what's happening right now, piece by piece, law by law, year by year. Unless people wake up and push back, it's going to continue until there's nothing left. This isn't about being paranoid. This isn't about conspiracy theories. This is about reading the actual laws and seeing what they do. This is about understanding the strategy and recognizing the pattern. And the pattern is clear. They're going after the guns that people actually use, the ones that work, the ones that save lives. And they're doing it in a way that most people won't notice until it's too late. If you're still with me, thank you. This is important stuff, and I'm grateful you're taking the time to understand it. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with everyone you know who cares about freedom and the right to self-defense. Your support keeps this content coming. So what comes next? That depends on us. If gun owners stay silent, if we assume someone else will fix it, if we wait until the laws are already passed, then we lose. But if we get loud, if we get organized, if we make it clear that we will not tolerate these attacks on our rights, then we have a chance. Not a guarantee, but a chance. And that's worth fighting for. The pistols on the chopping block aren't just firearms, they're symbols. They represent independence. They represent the idea that you don't need permission from the government to protect yourself. And that's a threat to people who want control. So they're going to keep pushing. They're going to keep testing. They're going to keep passing laws until we stop them. And the only way to stop them is to stand up and say no. Don't let anyone tell you this isn't happening. Don't let anyone convince you it's not a big deal. And don't let anyone shame you for caring about your rights. This is real. It's happening now. And it's only going to get worse unless we do something about it. So get informed, get involved, and get ready. Because the fight for the Second Amendment isn't over. It's just getting started. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay informed, and never stop defending your rights.